journal group also. I consider quality as an arbitrary term only because it has no constant or permanent definition. It differs. That is why every journal has its own set of guide to authors, and every journal has an international advisory board independently. Though the rules and regulations, convention governing the publication of journals almost are the same, still each journal prefer to have their own because of competition as well as bringing up the standard and quality of their own journals. As a, as a matter of fact, the distance between the expected high quality in publications and the quality that you may have at present is not much. The distance is very much narrow. The skill gap can be filled up through some extra efforts on your part. Indian authors belong to a category, preferred category, in journal publications for their language, metal and caliber in terms of genuine research procedure adoptions. And those who still believe that it is very difficult, it is a task, an uphill task to write a quality article to a journal, I would like to remind you of a story from Shiv Kare's You Can Win. One of the stories, he has given a number of stories of which the most I like is the woodcutter brothers. Two brothers are worshipping Shiva very strongly. One day Shiva appears in front of them, and they tell them that he can give them a boon whichever they like. And both of them expressed that they would like to become rich. Okay. God said, of this forest, half belongs to the elder brother, half belongs to the younger brother. They were happy. They accepted and took their part. After some time, Shiva visits back these brothers. He went and met the younger brother first. He asked him, how are you? Well, the younger brother says, oh, Lord Shiva, no use at all. You gave me half the forest, but still I could not make anything out of it. Because every tree is like iron, and it is very difficult to cut any one single tree. I have never been successful. Shiva took him along with him to the elder brother, and the elder brother was living in a palace. Lord Shiva asked him, how is it possible when your younger brother is not able to cut a single tree? You have amassed so much of wealth. The brother said, yes, of course, it is true. Every tree is like iron rod, very difficult to cut, but I sharpen my axe every day. So this is the secret actually behind enhancing the quality in your publication. You have to sharpen your, knowledge and approach to your writing. Well, you all believe that it is very difficult to bring in a quality in your writing or publication, but that is not true. Actually, everyone, you have been trying, you have been publishing. Of course, perhaps, you may not find a quality journal to accept your publication sometimes. I believe that you are all young, you are all talented, you have more experience. Every failure is a stepping stone for your success. As such, perhaps, I can say that in all aspects, you are better than me, not only by age, but in your experience of failure and success. Coming back, actually, you see, when you approach a journal to publish your article, you are identified. You do not know because journals need authors rather than articles. And the statistics reveal that, the number of rejected articles are more in number than the accepted articles, naturally. Because they say that during 2018, 3 million articles were being published, you know, in a month, perhaps. For every subject, there are empty number of journals and innumerable articles are received. Take, for example, Nature. One of the top-ranking journals with a heavy impact factor in the world, Nature from UK, prestigious, more than 150 years old. You see, this journal actually includes 8 articles per issue, and in a year it may require at the most 100 articles. But it is receiving tens and hundreds of articles for publication, which is impossible for the journal to accept. So naturally, all the other articles other than this 100, they are all rejected. They are all rejected means it is not completely the fault of the authors. Environmental factors are there. Apart from the substandard quality of the articles, or well, we are going to see why articles are rejected by journals. We are going to see at a later part. I have a small PowerPoint presentation and launching the first article may be a difficult thing. There may be teething problems, but once you launch your first article successfully, there is a theory in scientometrics that success breeds success. Once you launch it successfully, no doubt that your success shall continue, and you will be a continuant. An author publishing continuously, you know, is termed as continuant. There may be authors who may, move away with just one article to their credit, and they are known as terminators in the jargon of information science. And there are transients who come to publish a few articles, and after some time they also leave the scene. Okay, there are certain techniques and strategies for you to adopt to enhance the quality in your article. We all believe that English is the problem in writing articles. No, it is not, because English is spoken or written in India stands far above or better than any part of the world, in that matter. As such, English is not your problem. By mistake, majority of the scholars believe that lack of knowledge in English only is the problem for publishing. When Ms. Lakshmanan requested me to give a talk on these quality publications, I went to the internet, because we are all good in information harvesting, and internet has everything. Whatever you spell out, it is there just in front of you. So when I opened the internet to check how to enhance the quality, why articles are rejected, the number of articles are there, number of PowerPoints presentations are there, number of talks, blogs discussing much about this. Perhaps if you just can spare a little time in front of the computer, opening the internet, you will get all the information. What I am going to present is I collected from Scopus, Web of Knowledge, and various other journal databases, because they themselves provide all the required information to a scholar. Not only the impact factor of journals are highly productive authors or highly productive journals, but also how can you improve yourself in writing articles, research articles in your own subject. As I told you earlier, every subject has its own norms. Unless you read articles in your own field in some of the journals, whatever you get from outside experts as input, perhaps it is very difficult to improve. So you have to work for yourself. That's what I would say. You read some 10 or 15 articles in your field, in your subject, you will understand everything, because you are all more intelligent. Once the matter of concern for publishing an article comes to your mind, means you have intelligence. You are intellectuals, rather, I can say. So I have got some PowerPoint presentations. Let us go through it. In case you have got any doubt, you can raise your doubt, and I'm sure that with the knowledge that you already possess on this enhancing quality or writing an article, perhaps some of you at least may become Nobel laureates. I'm quite confident, because you know, uh, Nobel laureates were started their career as, novices, as novice authors, without any experience, trial and error method, and someday they became Nobel laureates. and perhaps after Sir C.V. Raman, perhaps Indian Nobel laureates, Indian born, not foreign settled, Indian born, Indian native scientists, well, has become a rare species in subjects. Whereas, at least in English, the department of Dr. Anandi, the head of the department of this Ramakrishna College, shall produce some writers who may one day win a number of prizes for authors, because uh, prolific authors, authors with quality publications are honored by journal publishers, and they are searching actually. That is why I tell you, as an author, when you introduce yourself to a journal, they don't leave you. They try to shape you into a better author. They give you suggestions. They don't reject totally, and rejected authors of rejected articles can appeal to the journals. Why it should not be rejected? Many a time the rejections, are reconsidered. Rejected articles are taken up for peer review committees. You know, the thing is, you cannot falter, because the journals give you very beautifully in simple term guide for authors. How you should write, or what are the norms that you should adopt, you should follow while writing your article in your subject. They are giving you norms. Every journal gives a set of norms. Fundamentally, they are all more or less similar. They are not totally different, though they have separate different sets. The fundamental philosophy behind these guide for authors is more or less the same. They give you directions. How should you write? If you follow that, perhaps, you have crossed over 50% of your effort. Then, it lies in your hands. After writing, what we do is, without the knowledge of your own colleague, perhaps, you send it immediately to a journal, or one or two or three journals, thinking that if any one accepts, I should be lucky. But you should know one thing: when you send your article to more than one journal, they have consortiums, they have database consultations. They immediately will know with how many journals your article has been delivered for publication. That is, the first disqualification an author may have. They do not open the bundle even; they simply return it, because it violates ethics. Beyond these written rules and regulations or norms, there are a lot of conventions, ethics, which should this research community should observe. They may be unwritten, but yet we all know what is ethics, what is a perfect path to follow for all of us. So that, if that fundamental rule is violated, they do not admit the author as an author into the journal publications. So this is one. And then when you read an article, when you read a few articles in your own field, let it be English or physics or chemistry, as I told you, every journal has its own style. Every journal has its own peer review committee, and that definitely differs from subject to subject, from subject to field to subject to field. So, there are general addressing general problems in a subject. There are devoted journals to a specific narrowed down field in your own subject. So, you try to understand the difference between journal approaches. When you read 10 or 15, you have got a particular branch of your subject in your mind. You want to specialize, or you have specialized. When you begin to write, try to identify. It is not a very difficult thing. You can identify the set of journals that publish articles in your field. When you read 10 articles, you will understand what is the nature of style, inlaid in all those articles. What is the length of the articles, number of pages, and what is the facets that is covered, the structure of individual articles, title, author affiliations, abstract, keywords, and then introduction, and then objectives, and then your hypotheses, and then your methods and materials, and then how did you collect your data and all those things. Then your hypothesis, how did you test your hypothesis, and then your results, findings, conclusion, suggestions for future research. And at the end, every article is appended with a reference list. I mean, the list of documents that you utilized to write your article. And apart from that, and, following the bibliography shall be the acknowledgement and then the supplemental materials which would have helped and which you did not include in the text, but still you think it is essential or necessary, you add it at the end. This is the general structure. As you have a general structure for your PhD report, like preliminaries, then the text, and then the back matters, like in the preliminaries, what all you had, and then in the text, you will have introduction, you will have review of literature, you will have methodology, you will have then this data analysis and interpretation, then you will have the results, findings, conclusion, and then your suggestions for future studies, and then your bibliography, and then your appendix, all those things. It may change actually in foreign universities, whether it is an article or a research publication of any nature, including your PhD report. You know, these findings and conclusion, they are prefixed actually. They form the first chapter. Then you go to explain how did you arrive at these findings, whatever be your subject, whether it is humanities or social sciences or physical and natural sciences. In all these three major divisions, conclusion is given as the first chapter. Then only, when they go to other parts. But as usual, the title, authors, author affiliation, and then abstract keywords, they are the preliminaries in research articles or PhDs. Then I'm trying to explain, what is the significance of this title. What should be the nature of the title. It cannot be just like that. You think something in your mind and you jot down the same as a title. It is not like that. Brevity is the soul of it. You all know. And perhaps for example, to tell you, in Gandhigram Deemed University at Dindigal, they have a rule that the title of a PhD investigation cannot exceed 15 words, whatever be your subject. It cannot exceed. And they have a strong faith that whatever you want to express, perhaps 15 words can express very well, you know, the gamut of your investigation, research investigation. So, but you look into the chemistry PhD reports, perhaps the title itself, it shall run to a paragraph actually. And then, when the wordings in a title, you know, I tell you, I have noted a lot of peculiarities in PhD titles. When I was a student at Karnataka University, Dharwad, they used to give us titles for classification, actually, organizing knowledge. I came across one title of PhD which was submitted to the Bombay University. The title, was like this: um, Family Social Behavior, Family Social Behavior of Wives of Greater Bombay. Family Social Behavior of Wives of Greater Bombay. What should it have been actually? What it should be like? It should be like family social behavior of married women, married in Bombay, Greater Bombay. But unfortunately, instead of married women, the scholar had used wives, wives of Greater Bombay. Bombay is a city. Bombay cannot have that many wives. Perhaps the sample size was around, when we looked into the abstract, it was around 800. Sometimes, we could enjoy the peculiarities of title like that. So wordings, is more important. It should kindle interest actually in the minds of the fellow scholars or the community of scholars in your own field. So it should be explicit, expressive, informative, and the like. And abstracts actually, even today, if you look into abstracts in engineering, I tell you in engineering, or I have not come across such anomalies in physics or chemistry. Perhaps science people are more serious, right from the title, abstract, and everything. I do not know because I don't belong to science. Though I belong to science faculty, I do not know the intricacies insight, and say, well, in abstracts in social sciences, I don't blame everybody, but the incidence of peculiarities are more in social sciences. Perhaps humanities, I cannot have more examples, but in social sciences, you know, as a teacher, I have come across students who would not have studied well. They would begin with a sentence like, "It is important, it is more important," and this important shall be there. The frequency of this word important shall be at least occurring 10 to 15 times in the first page. That itself shall reveal that this boy has not read anything, he does not know anything about the topic, but yet when he comes out, he would say that I answered all the questions very beautifully. I wrote 40, 50 pages. But the teacher who may correct, sit to correct only knows how much he or she may be irritated. Like that, abstracts irritates actually. It wastes the time. That's what, they say. Editors say that the abstract kills the time. You don't have time. You are already overloaded. That's what is discussed in journal environment. We were talking about information explosion during 1970s. The same thing repeats now. After the 1990s or 2000, a lot of literature is available on information overload, you know, directly dealing with journal publications, because technology has made it easier and faster also, and the number of articles being published every day, it is in thousands actually. And the one that you come to your notice in your subject, well, is only a small proportion of what were submitted for publication. Remember that. Though they say that the cost of running a journal, is more, because the cost of rejecting journals, it costs more for the exchequer of journal founders, journal houses, actually, publishing houses. So, the meticulous care, shall definitely help you launch your article successfully, without, even at your first hit, perhaps with slight, modifications. Editors will be more happy. Every time, it does not go to the hands of peer review committee members and then, come back to you, or it is accepted. They say that, for example, Nature, they admit, they are open, they are transparent. We do not have any peer review committee at all. They say they have an editorial board, and their justification is, you see, peer review committee members read only a section or branch of a subject in which they are experts. But editorial, members of the editorial committee, they happen to read all the articles in all the branches of the subject as such. In course of time, they become experts, and they disprove jack of all trade, master of none. They have disproved, because this is an approved practice on one of the globally leading top-ranking journal, Nature. That is the Nature actually. So they do not send it to the hands of the peer review committee members at all. They directly reject when the norms of writing an article is violated. We have prescribed very clearly they should not exceed 5 pages, 6 pages, 7 pages. There is no need for us. If you are given time, writing a book, you can't write an article. Book writing is different, number of pages or more as you like. You can sit here leisurely and you can write as you like, but it cannot work out in articles. So, just, they say that the abstract cannot exceed 200 words or 250 words. Normally, that is the prescription. If you are going to write 400 words, and sometimes, I have come across people when I was sitting as a librarian, also people used to come. They used to say, "Sir, I find it very difficult to control the number of words in the abstract." I used to think, within myself that, well, if you are not able to write an abstract properly, how are you going to write your article properly, perhaps? You have to understand. Language cannot be a problem. I tell you, you read 10 to 15 abstracts in the same topic, because you are not the first one to write this article in this field. That's why Isaac Newton said he was having a number of critics, and number of critics who frustrated him more. And once he replied that, well, Newton has copied from this document, from that document. So a group was working to identify where from he has copied. Plagiarism problem was there in those days itself, remember. And the frustrated Isaac Newton said, well, I could see this far in my field because I am standing on the shoulders of giant scientists. So nobody reinvents. You need not reinvent the wheel at all. You are going to just add an extension to the field that have been constantly investigated by scholars before you. So all the fears that you have are as though you are going to do everything yourself for the first time. You have the fear. Perhaps it is a kind of phobia, language phobia first, then the citation phobia next. Well, you have got Mendeley. Tomorrow you are going to listen to Mr. Lakshman and his colleague Mr. Karthi a talk on this reference manager, a wonderful package actually, which simplifies your work. And and with that, you can very well. They have identified about 122 style manuals. The American Psychological Association APA standard style manual standard is the most popular, uh, which is prescribed by many journals, publishers actually. When you use Mendeley, it automatically restructures, reorganizes because a bibliographic apparatus, a unit contains data on 8 or 9 fields only, like author or authors, and then title, subtitle, and then the locus information we call it. I mean the title of the journal, volume number, issue number, pages, and then now they include DOI. And then perhaps if the website is available, available from the website ID is given. So this is the fundamental data you collect. Whatever be the style that you follow, this is a set of information, standardized set of information that you are collecting for each video. When you use Mendeley, perhaps the article that you referred would have followed Chicago manual of style. Chicago has 4 different manual formats actually. So Chicago manual of style you have followed. You are copying a citation and you are fixing it in your Word file. You just you export it into Mendeley and you click which style that is wanted by the journal publisher. You just click it, automatically the bibliographic format is converted to the style that they demand. So to that extent, everything has been simplified. Technology comes to your rescue as such. You cannot say that I'm not able to write an article, I'm not able to bring in quality. You see, you take reference manager, you become a member of ResearchGate. That's what I'm going to show you in my PowerPoint. You become a member of ResearchGate, you define your interest, subject of specialization. So all these things you define there. It is free membership actually. You know, when somebody else notice your entries there, immediately they say, "Hi, I'm doing on the same topic." Perhaps you do not have any licensed journal database. If they are members of licensed databases, journal databases, in case they have retrieved journal articles, you have a free access to those set of journal articles. Just by a click, you get all the articles that they have downloaded. But thereby, you you are joining a group of experts actually. They will bring you up. You are not alone. You are not alone. So there is a social group waiting for you. What you have to do is just click and become a member. Except Academia, EDU, things like LinkedIn, ResearchGate, these are all free membership actually. And say for correcting your, I said in my profile, if you go to ResearchGate, Srimurugan, report correction is my, part-time job. Like I received believe it or not, I received one article from Czechoslovakia written in English by a medical expert. Oh, can you kindly help me? Unfortunately, I cannot pay. They said, okay, I accepted. It was a 25-page article. The acknowledgement they extended, perhaps, and I was so happy. So there are people waiting to help you actually. You, as though you are alone, you say that I'm helpless. You've got the potential. Realize, realize. When India was behind China, UK, and America during the early 90s, the scientometric experts actually in the West, there was a forecast about India that India is a sleeping giant. If they realize their potential, they will overtake USA, UK, and China also. But today, China has overtaken UK and the USA with 19% of their share in journal publications, while America amounts to 18% only. Do you know where does India stand? India's contribution to the journal literature amounts to 5%. But most Indian scientists feel that see, actual Indian journal articles, they are more than Chinese publications. This is one consolation actually for us, but yet, you all should write. Have all the confidence, and perhaps, one thing is there. There are agents in between. There are predator journals, they call it. A group of journals which receive money, and whatever be the substandard nature of your article, they just accept for publication and they just publish it. This is killing your interest and intelligence. Do not go to these predator journals. 15% of the journal publications are grabbed by these predators who live on the purse of the scholars, actually. Because unless, a scholar is lazy, they will not resort to predator. Having taken so much of effort to jot down an article for 5, 6 pages, let it be cut and piece material also. Well, even then you can convert it into a beautiful article. Try to have a critical approach to topics. Even if the topic has been written, say last month or last week, again you have an opportunity, because research is not always inventing something or innovating something. See, research is a systematized investigation into old problems for new solutions, old problems, new problems with the new solutions, or verification of the established theory or formula. These are the three types, and beyond this, there are other forms of publication also. Quality publication means it is not alone the periodical articles. Remember, letters to the editor, letters to the editor, review articles, and so many other formats are also there. To start with, you can write letters to the editor, but don't stop with writing letters to the editor. And perhaps in my PowerPoint, I have suggested start with writing conference articles, because the conference organizers are very kind, they are nice people. They also prescribe norms. Norms are strict, but the organizers are not. Conference papers are accepted as such, because see, you have to believe me, because when you were PG students, you have written conference papers and they all have been accepted and you have presented them successfully. But the thing is, you can't remain the same with the knowledge that you had for writing conference papers. So when you have finished your PG, MPhil, and you are doing your research, you have to just switch on to a different plane, changing your techniques and strategies. After all, change is permanent. But unfortunately, you know, without changing, many of the people outside, they are the same, remaining the same or constant. Okay, constant is not a constant forever, because the results of research is verified every moment. You know, with the possibility of finding a new solution or adding an alternative, something like that. So this is what I would say. If you think still English is my problem, if you are suffering from this English language phobia, you should know that Grammarly is there, Gingerly is there, some, what should I say, some, these two are there free of cost actually on the net. You don't present your article paragraph by paragraph. but to submit your article sentence by sentence, get them corrected, get them back. You know, the most I like among all these subjects, I like articles in English. Perhaps in just if the article runs to 5 pages, the number of citations may run beyond sometimes 250 or 300. So the per capita citation per page, you may not believe, just 50 or 60. And in engineering, next to English literature, engineering actually, their citation style shall be 1 to 15, just like that. Even in the first page, you may come across about 25, 30 or 35 citations. You know, and also remember, we talk about plagiarism. You just like, for at least sample, you read 2, 3 engineering articles in computer science or in any of its branches. You know, the first leading line in a research article shall be the same for at least 3, 4 articles. I've come across because I've helped a lot of people to compare their bibliographies, and when one goes through, at least 1 or 2 pages in an article, you will find to your surprise that because they are written, they are cited, acknowledging the source. If you acknowledge the source of your citation, it is not plagiarism. How do we identify plagiarism? Suppose someone is taking a paragraph from some other article and paste it in his own, as though it is his own article. What they fail to, they are stealing actually. What they fail to understand is the person who may review this article is more intelligent, because they read your article to find fault with. As in cricket, a whole team is, utilizing their brain to, stump out that man who is batting. Only two persons, and particularly one person against a team of 11 members. Like that, there are a lot of peer review committee members waiting to bold out. So, you see, how do they find, suppose in a paragraph, when they just put it on the net, not necessarily, they don't need any software, or even if there is some software, if they input into that, 1 to 10 citations will be in the same order as it is found in the original source you have taken from. They will identify. So what people would do, utilize their brain and leave 1 or 2 in between and then just pack it up. Even then, it is very easy to find the plagiarism. They are teacher of teachers, these plagiarism committee members actually, because a policeman always looks at everybody as a culprit. A teacher, in my experience, looks at everybody as a dull-headed man, unfortunately. But I don't belong to that category. Okay? But then only, if everyone is going to be intelligent in a classroom, it may be boring for the teacher. There should be some dull heads, right? So, well, these people, these peer committee review members, they are well-read people with wider knowledge, actually. So, you need not resort to any, I mean, uh, fraudulent measures. You simply sincerely sit, read first, and then compile a bibliography. Because every research, whether it is an article or it is going to be a PhD report or any technical report, every research starts with a bibliography and ends with a bibliography. What is a bibliography? A bibliography is a list of documents, either in a particular field, specific subject field, which is known as subject bibliography, or all the documents by a particular author, which is going to be a personal bibliography or an author bibliography, or, you see, a critically analyzing the bibliographic units compiled, an analytical bibliography. When you read completely every article that you find relevant to your writing or your article, naturally that reading habit itself shall make you a best author. A best author, I say, because I don't use the word better also. The difference between an author and a best author is not much. You are the best author because you have not utilized the skills that, your potential skills, you remain, and you are happy to be an ordinary author. lamenting over rejection. And perhaps, you will make a record when you count the number of rejected articles. It is not like that. Try to open your eyes, awake, arise. And there are a lot of resources to teach you on the net, in the journals that you have in your hands, that you have in your library. If you don't go to the library, at least on the internet, you just the keywords. When you want to write an article, first you decide the title that you want to write under. You decide the title. For that, you have to read articles, look into the titles, the words that have been used. You see, during 90s, actually, why I tell you the title is more important. The title and abstract is the gateway for every reader to decide whether it is relevant or not. If your title does not direct him properly into your article, if it doesn't take him by hand into your article remains uncited, unnoticed. So, unnoticed, unsung articles, no impact factor at all. What is the use? You have 100 articles, but only 2 are cited somewhere once or twice there. You do not have any H index or any other index impact factor. Useless, actually, meaningless. So, what you have to do is you have to read, focused reading, it is said. When you search for articles, it is browsing. When you obtain the articles, you have to go for focused reading. What exactly the author wants to reveal? Is it similar to your thoughts? When it is similar, you just reserve it for your further reading. Okay? So, there also, the title and abstract that author has prepared only help you to decide whether it is relevant to you or not. In the same way, your article also should guide other scholars to, visit your article, read and utilize it. Okay, so in the abstracts you go and read today in social sciences, for example, I don't want to say any specific subject, but in general in social sciences, they say that this is an important study. And like that, they go on writing something, like as they were writing their examination papers. It may not have any relevance at all. An abstract should reflect the theme that you have dealt in your article. 5 pages. You have taken all the efforts. But when you write an abstract of 250 words, irrelevant to the text that you have created, all your effort is a colossal waste. So you have to, moreover, you have to use technical terms actually. It cannot be a narration, but technical documentation. An abstract is a technical documentation. There is a lot of difference between narrative techniques and technical documentation. Even let it be even English literature. Well, you have to go for a technical writing actually. Okay, well, it is like that. And I came across one interesting article on Harold Pinter, a, a well celebrated dramatist, playwright in UK, a Nobel laureate also. And comedy of menace was the concept in his writings. Just for my pastime, I came across this Harold Pinter. And perhaps I could find a similarity that this comedy of menace has been the theme in all the Tamil and Hindi serials today in India, even today. Though, well, Harold Pinter died as early as 1910 or so. And his theme was so popular during the early years of the new millennium. Even today, well, the comedy of menace actually. Though I'm not a student of English literature, I love English literature because it's very beautiful. Literature holds a mirror up to nature. Shakespeare said. Well, somebody said literature, and when I saw, Madam Sneha's that icon, very much. Try to learn this English, whatever be your subject. Read some articles. Even when you read articles in your own subject, you become an expert actually. The requirement to become a best author or to the requirements to produce quality articles, you will gain more than that. You will go beyond that. See, that is why I always tell my students, perhaps read between the lines is a popular saying. I used to tell my students, read beyond the lines. Try to understand the psychology or the objective of the person who has committed a statement. So it is not the lines that is going to reveal the mind of the author, but to go beyond that, penetrate the author's mind. Okay, just try that. You will become a Nobel laureate. That's what they have done. Nobody has, that's why I told you that you are not reinventing the wheel. You are joining a trend actually where thousands and thousands of authors have been running along with you. And it is not a secret. Publications are open. Read them. You have the knowledge because you have crossed over PG, you have crossed over MPhil, Master of Philosophy, or you have been doing a PhD or you have completed your PhD, you have obtained your PhD. Try to read your own PhD. And perhaps, whenever people used to come to the library depositing a copy, now I'm able to talk this much because I had a lot of opportunities to interact with the scholars. I made it mandatory when I took charge of the university library, though there was a rule already that was not active, and I just went to the vice chancellor, got a rule passed like every scholar should deposit a copy of his PhD research report at the library and get a no-use certificate from there so that the copies shall be accepted for evaluation. And whenever they came to the library to deposit a copy, I used to have a discussion with them, the difficulties, the methodologies. So I could meet scholars from various subjects, and I could see the differences even within a branch of a subject. So every journal has its own unique style, unique norms. Try to read that journal in which your article has a probability to be published. Okay, when you read, it is open. You read, you will understand because you have come to the university, which is the apex body of higher learning. Perhaps your opportunities open, free opportunities in front of you. Utilize your opportunity. I believe now I can go into the PowerPoint with just a sweeping look. I will not bore you much dwelling on single slides, but just I will be at a running speed, hit and run like, okay? And bear with me if it is boring. But I tell you, every slide I prepared with all care because some 9 years ago, in 2011 exactly, I gave a talk. A webinar like talk on these quality publications. And I just, while searching my own computer, I hit upon that PowerPoint, and I was ashamed of my own presentation. I told Ms. Lakshman also how poor it was, some 9 years ago. Very, very bad, I thought. Perhaps, only out of the 24 slides, I believe only 4 or 5 slides were meaningful and should have been useful. But this time, I corrected myself. I saw that every slide communicates to you. Every slide is important in case you happen to record that. You just go through. But though I cannot promise that I'm giving you exhaustive information. No, I'm just taking you to the entrance. It is for you to go inside, go into the, Google Scholar or into the library, which is unfortunately without any leader there. You will be receiving a royal welcome there. Go to the library, university library, college library, and try to read at least one article, for the morning session, one article in the evening session. Reading 10, 15 pages a day cannot be a task. Cannot be a task. It is going to add up to your knowledge. And with this, I wind up this talk.